You know, the backbone of the 208 is the back and forth we have with our viewers. It's why we ask for text messages throughout the show and anytime, really. Back a bit, we got this text message from Gladys in Emmett. She wrote, "This has nothing to do with anything you've been talking about," which is sometimes our favorite kind of text message, by the way. But she continued, "I hear the expression, the Boise Bench, all the time, also in Emmett. So my question is, where are both of them?" Well, Gladys, we don't know much about the bench in Emmett, but we do know a bit about the Boise Bench. Well, we do now, after talking to the Idaho Historical Society. Okay, the Boise Bench. Where is it? Well, first, let's look at the layout of the valley carved out by the Boise River well before it even had a name. Tens of thousands of years of mountain snow melting and water running downhill unchecked created the levels we know today. There's the lower level, basically the river and all of downtown Boise westward. Then the next level, well, that would be the bench.
West from Federal Way, north from the Boise Airport, and east from Cole Road.
Literally, like a bench, a place for your feet and a place for your seat.
So that's geographically what the Boise Bench has historically been considered, and even what residents as early as 1900 would have considered the Boise Bench.
As for how the bench should be considered historically,
it's the next chapter outside of that first 5 years of downtown core development.
That first chapter began months after Idaho became a territory.
In fact, Boise City was platted and established on July 7th, 1863.
So a city was started, and getting in and out of it, well, those days, that meant trains.
But before you can have railroad, you have to have water.
Thus, the next chapter, which developed by diverting water south from the Boise River with the Reidenbach Canal in 1865. While all that was happening, in 1871, a man named William Morris moved to town.
And again, we don't know a lot about William Morris, but we do know that he was involved with a number of organizations, a number of businesses.
One of those as a manager of the Northwest Stage Lines. However, his duties, and apparently his disposition, were often disagreeable, as noted by a historian from the 1890s.
An antique specimen of human nature, encased in a body which was just a trifle larger than his soul and conscience. He was a mass of prejudices and sinuous vindictiveness. The reason I mention him, although he deserves to be forgotten, is that his character should go on record for what it was. And, in addition, the names of the decent men connected with that corporation should be made more brilliant by comparison with him.
Okay, so as a person, he may deserve to be forgotten, but as a property owner, not so much. The man with a mass of prejudices managed to amass a lot of land.
And he was kind of the founder of the Boise Bench because he took action to acquire more than 17,000 acres of land south of town on the bench through the Desert Land Act.
Which made more acreage available for a lot less money. Then Morris was also able to get a lot of farmers and businessmen to help finish the Reidenbach Canal.
By 1891, there's more than 100 miles of ditch, 153 laterals within this Reidenbach system, and it irrigates 22,000 acres of land on the bench.
A flood irrigation system that allowed for the blossoming of orchards, like apples, plums, and peaches. And it's a system that is still in place today, and why the bench became one of Boise's first suburbs.
You cannot talk about the history of the city of Boise without acknowledging that the Boise Bench is woven into that fabric.
Well, the bench wasn't only Boise's first suburb, but it became home to Idaho's first shopping center, the Vista Village, still there, by the way, on Vista. Orchard, the street appropriately named, became one of the main roads to get people north and south on the bench. And, well, despite being known for being a bad guy, we also know the name William Morris because of the Morris Hill Cemetery. By the way, the end of the bench, we're told, is where the irrigation water stops, where the canals stop. The Reidenbach eventually heads south, but the Settlers Canal continues west and helps define the seat of the bench further west. And then there's even another level beyond that. You know, the one where the interstate and the airport sit? Well, the airport, which wasn't built until 1936, that's kind of another level entirely. And yes, Gladys, Emmett does have a bench. It's north of the Payette River.